Hi, so this is a video where I'll try and give examples of how you should use frontier models. And although I'm going to be using the example of Fable 5, but really this applies to any frontier model. And basically, given the kind of options, how should you demarcate between the tasks? And this is a scenario which all horizontal business functions are facing today, whether it is marketing, HR, finance, PR. So I'm going to be using a video that I came across. I'm going to be sharing my screen, and we'll just listen to a few bytes from that video, and I'll give you my thoughts on that. Okay, so the first one is redesigning a deck. And basically, here the use case is that when something is complex and where you need to take suppose there is a deck which has been previously made, but it's not looking good, it's not as per your brand guidelines, then it's a complex task to redo it so that it looks perfect, it's aligned, it's as per your brand guidelines. And that's what this example is all about. Let's have a listen.
A very extreme example, but I wanted to see how far I could push it. So this is a very ugly, disgusting presentation from this company, Nimbus Pay's investor update. You can see the contrast is all wrong. There's like way too much text on all of these slides. So let's see if we can give that to Fable 5. Now, what I've also provided here in the prompt is our brand kit so that Fable 5 exactly knows what the good presentation should look like. And with that, Fable 5 got to work reading the brand kit, developing this presentation, but it didn't just give me the presentation straight away. You can see here before it handed me its result, it took a screenshot of all 10 slides it created and then analyzed every single one. And we can see here that it did actually find some issues with the slides that it created. So it immediately started a new task to actually fix its mistakes. And we can see here the deck has been rescued, all 10 slides rebuilt to the 9x system, and the screenshots verified twice. And what we get back is the redesigned presentation in two formats, both in HTML and in PowerPoint, which is editable. Let's check out the HTML first. And we can see here just the improvements that is made. This is according exactly to our style guide. We even have some nice visual elements here, some nice clean cards in different sizes, big numbers rather than paragraphs of text like we had.
Right. So the basically, if you have to present a PPT or a Google Slides deck, and you have to, and like the agent has to understand the formatting issues there, and you have to follow the brand guidelines. That's like a complex task where definitely you can consider using a frontier model and of course you can do some of these decisions. What happens is that you experiment with the cheaper models and you do it 2-3 times, and you understand that it's not happening the way you wanted, and that's when you take the leap and decide to use frontier models for this. Like you basically have this is a call that you take internally within teams that for all like scenarios like this, it's best to use a frontier model. Okay, so the other example that I wanted to take is addressing an issue which is there in all agents today. It's drift, agent drift. And what basically it means that, and if you give a brief to an agent, the first set of tasks, it would do it properly, but then as the number of runs increases, it tends to hallucinate. That's basically what agent drift is all about. And that doesn't happen as much in the frontier models as compared to the cheaper models. So that's again scenarios where you know that drift is a likely occurrence. You can take that call going for a frontier model. And here's an example where you need to create the collateral for the entire marketing funnel, right? Which is, suppose you're going to launch a product, and basically you already have done a pilot and you know the marketing, you have a very good handle on the communication. So you take the call that, okay, you want to do all of the lead magnets, the ads, the landing pages, the creative for social, internal communication, whatever, right? You want to do all of it at one go. Of course, that these things will only happen if you have complete clarity and you don't want to do too many iterations. So that's the example of which. So let's have a listen.
Lead magnet for a free 3-hour Claude co-work course that we have set up end to end. For this one, I again used Claude Code, and this time I used the inbuilt goal mode, which makes sure that Fable 5 keeps working until a certain condition is met. And this is a really great way you can get Fable 5 to work on these long running task. So here I said the goal was to build a full set of Claude Code skills that will be able to build a whole lead magnet campaign funnel end to end from a single brief. And so that it could build this out, I gave it the first campaign that I wanted it to set up, which is a lead magnet for a free 3-hour Claude co-work course that we have set up. There's the link that they should be sent after they sign up to the lead magnet. And I also provided, for instance, some copy, the whole transcript of that 3-hour course, so it can pull in ideas that it can use for the campaign. Now, if we take a look at the results, and this one did run for a very, very long time, the very first thing it does is give us some different messaging angles for our campaign, and we get 5 different angles to choose from. And these frameworks are actually taken from Alex Hormozi's $100 million leads book. So we basically trained Claude up on the different strategies for coming up with good meta ads. And the one we actually chose here was ease first. So you can see this 3-hour course takes you from zero to running real work, no technical background needed. So this is the basis of the full campaign. With that campaign angle decided, the very next thing that Fable 5 did was actually come up with the ad creatives. And we can actually open that one up here in the browser. Let me open this up in full screen. So we get a full mock-up. All of these image ads were created with Claude Code using Fable 5, using a Python image library that we have connected. So we can see we get plenty of different angles here. And I actually chose, I think I ran like 3 out of the 4 sets. I found like the social proof one a little bit strange, which just had the 20,000 professional trained number. But some of the others actually look very, very solid and in line with sort of what's working on Meta at the moment. And even more, what I like, it's given us a full mock-up of what this would actually look like on the Meta Ads platform. The next thing our campaign obviously needs is a landing page. So where do people land after they click on the Meta ad? And here it used the Framer MCP connector. Framer is the tool that we use to run the 9X website. And we have the little staging link as well as the editing link here. If we take a look, and we can see in Framer, it's built out a very professionally looking landing page because it was able to basically pull in the style of all of the other pages on our website. So we obviously have a hero section where they can just put in name and email and get access to the free course. We have some outcomes here about what they'll build in 3 hours, and then the full curriculum of what is in the course. And again, a link back up to the top. Then obviously the whole point of a lead magnet campaign is to capture email addresses and then send them the resource. So here it used our email tool customer.io to directly create the email that we will send whenever someone fills in offer. This is probably the part that blew me away the most, the fact that it was able to actually look into our email marketing system, see all of the events that we are sending, all of the tracking events, and actually use that in the logic. So here it basically keeps going in the sequence until we've seen that they've actually joined the community to access the resource. Then
So yeah, basically like doing the entire funnel, right? So there will be 10 different things that are required. This is just an example of a few, but there'll be typically quite a few deliverables need to be in place before you launch a campaign, launch a product. So just keeping everything ready. So yeah, those like logically you would use, if something's expensive, you would use it sparingly. So that's the example of the presentation where it was a complex task, and by if by experience, if you know that the cheaper models just won't cut it, so that's one very good use case. And actually, the other I didn't show that, but is report making. Like you have, suppose you want to make a report from like 5 different Excel sheets, 5 documents, and to be in a certain goal-oriented manner, like as per the priorities of the team. Again, it's a complex task. Good use case for a frontier model. And the other example was the funnel one, where you know that it's agent drift is a real issue, and that's when you want to minimize that, and that's when you use that's where you use a frontier model, because otherwise there is a risk that every time an agent does a different creator, different ad or different landing page or a different webinar page, right? So it should not drift from the original brief, right? So those were some of the examples where you should consider a frontier model. Thank you.